All right, and with that story by Gatete Njoroge, I want to introduce the bench who are already here. I will start with the lady, Sheila Olang, who is the development economist. Good evening.
Good evening, Sam. Thanks for having me.
Great to see you here. Gabriel Muthuma is the deputy government spokesperson. Good evening.
Good evening, Sam. Nice to see you again.
Oh, yes, in a very short time. And
Barely a few days ago.
Is the former president of the Law Society of Kenya. Good evening.
Good evening, Sam.
Let's start from the report by Gatete there, because he's saying that there's a 5-year strategic plan for IPOA. They're looking at up to 13 billion shillings for them to be in a position to do the work they do. But they're also really crippled because they just have about 21% of the staffing they require. When you look at that, and at a time that you're also being told that from now on, you can actually go ahead and sue the government for compensation even before matters of investigation are completed. How does that look at a time that IPOA has really struggled over a couple of years?
IPOA was a good idea as structured. And at the beginning, it seemed to work. Towards the recent past, its inability to perform its oversight role over the police has become manifest. And I have considerable doubt as to whether the issue is one of financial capacity. I think, to a large extent, the police command has refused civilian oversight. We need something more than just injection of finance into IPOA. I believe my friend Isaac has to see what his predecessors have done and assert his authority to ensure that the role of IPOA is felt and that the excesses of the police are countermanded. That would be the biggest gift he'll ever give to Kenyans insofar as the intention of IPOA under the Constitution was designed.
Gabriel, your thoughts, because we've had several conversations, whether it's among the security organs or it's Kenyans themselves, but we still don't get to that point where you feel the impact of having IPOA. It's about 13 years now?
Well, yeah, and Sam, allow me to report that I was actually in that function. And first of all, it was really amazing to see all those institutions coming together and looking for a structured way to work things out. Allow me not to agree a lot with my good friend, and I was just telling him a while ago that it's an honor actually to be sitting across or next to him. The last time we did this was been years ago. I mean, to be in one panel to discuss things, and when I hear you people calling him the former LSK president, which he is, you probably might not know he's heading for the coveted seat of the presidency. 2024, he launched his campaign. You know, so I'm congratulating.
Is it? I haven't.
Yeah. Oh, you're seated with a very serious person.
If this is coming from State House, then there could be credible merit.
No, he did. In fact, I wanted to ask him what his mantra was. He's been a close friend.
No, I've seen him. He's
been a close friend, and we can never forget. He was among the people. He was among the people who really did our UDA manifesto. He was among, so he's a very close friend. So when I disagree with him, as from time to time it will happen, it's always respectful. So, yes, the funding is critical, and I was glad to hear Honorable Kaluma talk about it. But he promised they're going to do the very best to ensure that IPOA is well funded. And Sam, allow us to, let's give them the benefit of doubt. There are so many things that will be needing, there's so many things that will need to be moving, so many things that will need to be pulled. But at the end of the day, what are we looking to achieve as Kenyans? How can we support IPOA? The institutions that are mandated by the Constitution to do so. How do we support them? Whether you're looking at it from the executive, the legislature, and as the common mwananchi, how do we support IPOA?
Did you just include yourself in the list of common mwananchi?
Oh, yes, I'm a commoner.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, common mwananchi. Are we not common mwananchis?
No, I'm asking you.
Yeah, I'm a common mwananchi.
You're claiming the title.
I'm common mwananchi, just like, well, I can't count him. I can't count. You, I think me and you are common mwananchis.
You're a deputy government spokesperson. You're not common mwananchi.
It's a good title. It's a good title. But at the end of the day, we are common wananchis.
All right.
Good citizens of this great nation.
That's all right, Gabriel. Sheila, when you look at those concerns, because we wouldn't need IPOA if police were not involved in excessive use of power or abuse of power, if you like. And the funding has been a question. I think in the previous financial year, they needed 2.2 billion shillings. They only allowed about 1.3 billion shillings. So already you can see the challenge there. Do you feel a commitment to ensuring IPOA works, but more importantly, there's no excessive use of power from the police and the state?
I think absolutely. Maybe I can help Gabriel out here as a common wananchi who was on the streets last year receiving...
Oh, you were?
Yes, I was, Gabriel, as the common wananchi who was on the streets last year receiving tear gas and everything in between from the police and really experiencing that concept of police brutality. I can tell you that we need a holistic approach. We need a holistic approach. So if we really narrow it down to simply funding, then I think we're going to belittle. We're going to end up with a lot of funding, but still not having effect. And I say this because I'll give a practical example. When we had the issue of Albert Ojwang, I still remember vividly that press conference where you had, you know, the suspects, exactly, who was, you know, the people who were involved standing there. And there's that picture of IPOA standing right there. I mean, we're in a country where we have a huge trust deficit, as it is, when it comes to police. So to add insult to injury by having that view that we had there, that was not a question of funding. That was a question of you are supposed to be the one helping us. You're supposed to be the one, you know, coming in and trying to save the day. So what happened in that instance? Why is it that we were seeing IPOA really standing there? That wasn't a question of funding. That was a question of, did we understand the mandate? Did we understand the job description? So I think we also have a lot of capacity building, a lot of sensitization, both on the public side to understand that IPOA is there and these are the functions and functionalities of IPOA, but at the same time to also just ask the government not to please swallow these checks and balances, because I would understand why they would feel a bit intimidated in terms of processing. But police must allow civilian oversight. I think there's no question about it.
No, this one I agree.
All right, just to be the devil's advocate, IPOA chair, Isaac Hassan, eventually explained, and he actually regretted and apologized for appearing in that press conference with the leadership of the police service, but he also said that that was not the intention, that he had intended to go and see what was happening at Central Police Station, but he was pulled by the IG to that press conference. Wakili, I wanted you to say something about the judgment of the Court of Appeal, that you don't have to wait until all those processes, because ideally, if you're injured or if your kin is killed, you complain to IPOA. IPOA investigates, hands over a file to the ODPP. DPP agrees with IPOA or not. When they agree, you take the matter to court. Now, the Court of Appeal has said you don't have to wait until that process is complete for you to apply or petition the court for compensation. How does that help the Kenyan citizenry? But at the same time, what will be the difficulty at a time that the state continues to deny any offense?
This decision by the Court of Appeal comes at the most opportune time because it entrenches the right to life as stated in the Constitution. Because if the right to life is given under the Constitution and it's taken unlawfully by police excess, then the strictures that were there before, that you must get a conviction against the police officer first before you can pursue and remedy by way of damages, were a hindrance. They were fetter to this right. And the Court of Appeal based it on a common law tort, wrongful death, which I've spoken about before. If one's life has been taken away wrongfully, then the beneficiaries of the estate of the person who has died have a right to go to court and sue. Before you could sue by way of a plaint, a civil claim. But the Constitution has made it quite clear. All you need to do is to file a constitutional petition, identify the person who has been killed, indicate to what extent the government or governmental agencies or the police were involved, and you'll be compensated. And that is what has to be done. Because you need to contradistinct that with what has now been stopped by the court, the compensation panel. Because for there to be payment of damages, liability has to be established. And what better way to establish liability than the one provided for in the Constitution?
Right.
So that going forward, it is now clear that to the extent that a life has been lost, just file a constitutional petition. You ought not to be slowed down by these other formalities.
Okay, all right. And we're waiting to see how that plays out, especially when it comes to all the persons affected. The KNCHR, I think in total talks about 120 killed between the years 2024 and 2025. We're taking a short break here on JKL Live. When we come back, we have some more stories. But the bench will stay here because we have so much to talk about, all the way from Ruto at 3, the achievements, the misses, the hits themselves, and also where we are headed after the 3 years, after the break.